Hey guys, we got a powerful storm system to talk about today. It'll be bringing a severe thunderstorm outbreak and maybe a multi-day tornado outbreak on its southern side, while also bringing a snowstorm to portions of the northern Great Lakes and northern New England on its northern side. Now, this video might be kind of long because I have a lot to talk about and I can't divide it into multiple videos this week because I'm kind of busy. But anyway, today's April 1st and let's dive right into it. So what we're looking at here is the Storm Prediction Center's severe thunderstorm outlook for today. And notice we have a moderate risk out now for portions of Oklahoma, the first moderate risk out for anywhere in the U.S. since last summer. So we could be talking about very large hail in this area, and tornadoes, and also around that we have an enhanced risk going anywhere from northern Texas all the way to southern Indiana. And then also, I'm going to quickly show you guys tomorrow. For tomorrow, we have a moderate risk now for Ohio, with this enhanced risk now around that, all the way down to portions of northern Alabama. That's a significant increase since the earlier outlook from this morning. So before we dive into the radar and all that, I want to show you guys. First, let me show you guys the alerts at the moment. We have a severe thunderstorm watches here in this purplish color for portions of eastern Kansas and central Texas, and in between that in yellow we have a tornado watch out at the moment for a large portion of central Oklahoma. Also, we have flood watches out from portions of Illinois to West Virginia. Now, next I want to show you guys just what's causing this big storm system to develop. So right here we're looking at the Europeans model, the 500 millibar heights and basically the jet stream level. This is for currently at the moment this afternoon. Notice we have a very deep trough in the west, positively tilted trough centered on the desert southwest. But what I want you to focus on is this trough, and there's another trough over here in portions of southern Canada that'll be diving to the south, and these two troughs are going to merge, and that's what's going to cause our big storm system. So I want you to really keep an eye on this this northern stream trough here in Canada, and watch how it just dives southward over the next 48 hours right here into the Midwest. And these two troughs converge, and we get this gigantic trough over the Great Lakes region. We have a jet streak that develops across the southeastern states too. That's going to cause rapid cyclone development in the left exit region here, across portions of the Ohio Valley, and that's what causes the rapidly intensifying cyclone that develops over the next 48 hours. That brings the multiple weather hazards. Now you could also look at it by looking at the height anomalies. The areas in blue are troughs. Right here currently here's the trough over the southwest, and here's the other trough coming out of south central Canada. Now watch that northern stream trough just aggressively dive to the south, and once these two merge, we get a very deep and large trough over the whole Great Lakes region and the eastern United States by Wednesday night and Thursday. Now, first I want to look at the radar, future simulated radar. We're looking at the HRRR model. This model always does a very good job at convective setups. So first I'm going to go to the Oklahoma and Texas region, and then we'll go into the Ohio Valley after that. So let's go to the radar. So this is valid for this afternoon, local time, around 2 p.m. local time. But over the next few hours, watch how we get rapid supercell development across portions of Oklahoma here, and even a couple supercells possible into northern Texas and central Texas, but the majority of it will be in Oklahoma. Anytime you get supercells like this, you have very large hail potential, tornado potential. The low-level shear is a bit on the weaker side today, so I'm not expecting widespread tornado outbreak, but given the very good helicity values out there, I do expect a couple long-track tornadoes in Oklahoma, maybe a couple strong tornadoes possible too. And then as we go into tonight, closer to midnight, 10, 11, 12 o'clock tonight, these storms start to merge as they move into portions of Arkansas and Missouri.
but we could still have a few supercells here across portions of southern Oklahoma, near the border of Texas and northern Texas. And also maybe into portions of central Texas. The shear and helicity values aren't as high in central Texas, so I'm not expecting much of a tornado threat there, like places like Austin and San Antonio. But there could still be very large hail, especially Oklahoma. I'm expecting like baseball size hail, maybe even larger than that, possible today in these supercells. And then as we go into the overnight hours tonight, with the lack of instability, a lot of this weakens as it moves eastward. I'm going to quickly go to the parameters here, starting with the Cape values, or how much energy we have out there for the thunderstorms. This afternoon we have values over 2,000. That's anywhere you see in yellow. So we have a lot of energy out there for these thunderstorms, and those values decrease as we go over into the overnight hours. Looking at the 0 to 1 kilometer bulk shear, or in the very lowest levels of the atmosphere, notice how we don't have very high values over Oklahoma tonight. Actually, let me go back a bit, right about here. We don't have like very high values of strong low level bulk shear across Oklahoma. That's going to be one inhibition to the tornado threat today, but a little bit higher values across northern Texas. Now, but looking at the bulk shear of the 0 to 6 kilometer level, we do have very high values of bulk shear here, up to 6 kilometers here in Oklahoma, getting values close to 80 knots tonight. So that means we'll have very long lasting thunderstorms and very severe supercells with such high values of bulk shear. And then one of the most important ingredients for tornado potential is the helicity, or the amount of updraft rotation. And as we go into tonight, the highest values are actually across portions of northern Texas, and not so much in Oklahoma. That's going to be another inhibition to the tornado threat today. But I do still think these supercells will be capable of a few isolated strong tornadoes across Oklahoma, because that's where the best energy will be for thunderstorm development. Even though we have higher values of helicity across northern Texas, we don't have the best energy out there to produce thunderstorms, so that's why it'll be more isolated once you get to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. But nonetheless, that's why northern Texas is still in an enhanced risk of severe thunderstorms tonight from the Storm Prediction Center. And then putting all these parameters together, you get the significant tornado parameter, or where we have the best environment to get tornadoes if any thunderstorms can develop in that region. And as we go into over the next few hours, we actually have the highest parameter levels across portions of northern Texas in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We have values of in between 2 and 4 on a scale of 10, and the values aren't as high. Still, some elevated values across portions of Oklahoma. So, I do think if we could get a good few discrete supercells out there tonight, we will have a few long track tornadoes possible. Places that should be on alert are Oklahoma City, Tulsa, maybe Dallas, Fort Worth. And then once you get towards the south, towards San Antonio and Texas, it'll be more of a large hail threat. But anywhere in Oklahoma and Texas today, we could have very large hail of baseball size. And then looking at the helicity values, the helicity tracks, which shows where we have, this is taking like each individual storm's helicity track. And notice how we have some very deep, very intense tracks here across portions of Oklahoma and Texas. This is indicative that we will possibly have some long track tornadoes tonight. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but the potential is out there. Also, I want to look at one forecast sounding from this area tonight. So let's go to portions of Oklahoma. So portions of Oklahoma tonight. Notice we have this will be a bit messy. This will be when there's a lot of rain and storms in the area, but still we have some curvature in the photograph. Not a whole lot of helicity. I'm assuming this is after the storms have moved through, but still very strong values of bulk shear. Very steep lapse rates. That's indicative of very large hail potential. And And when we go into portions of around Dallas, Fort Worth, let's see what we got here. We have some decent low level curvature in the photographs, and you can see that in the lowest levels there. Very steep lapse rates, 8 degrees Celsius per kilometer. You have very large hail potential out there in northern Texas. Very 70 knots of bulk shear is incredible. Long lasting storms, very severe potentially with such strong values of bulk shear, and helicity values in the 200s. Very good for tornado development. Anything over 100, you could get a tornado. So we do have a tornado environment out there, especially in northern Texas and southern portions of Oklahoma. Now let's go into portions of the Ohio Valley. Let's go here. Let's go back to the future simulated radar. So this is now starting off this afternoon again, and as we go over the next few hours tonight, we have the thunderstorm development across Missouri. A couple supercells possible in there, but it looks very multicellular, which will limit the tornado threat a bit. But still, Missouri, I expect a very large hail threat tonight. Baseball-sized hail possible in these storms. And then as we get closer to midnight tonight, we get rapid thunderstorm development and mergers coming out of Oklahoma. We have thunderstorm development across portions of Illinois, southern Indiana. And it's especially across this area here, southern Illinois, southern Indiana, right near the Ohio River, also in northern Kentucky. That's where the best tornado potential will be tonight, and I'll show you the why in a few moments. But anyway, as we go overnight tonight, notice how we still have very, very intense thunderstorms here across portions of eastern Missouri, southern Illinois, southern Indiana, even though we have weaker values of CAPE due to the lack of instability overnight, lack of daytime heating. There will still be strong storms out there across portions of southern Illinois and Indiana, as it's being indicated here by the model. So, and then as we go into tomorrow morning, this is now going into tomorrow morning on April 2nd, we still have thunderstorms ongoing across southern portions of Ohio, northern Kentucky, maybe even West Virginia. These honestly could still be quite severe, I think, especially where we have any storms can become just a little bit more discrete within this cluster of storms. I would expect there will still be decent values of helicity in this area. So we could still be talking about a morning tornado threat across portions of the southern Ohio, northern Kentucky, and as that whole cluster of storms move east, and as the cold front starts to move to the east tomorrow, that's when we get the second round of thunderstorm development in the afternoon. This would be tomorrow afternoon. This is still 24 hours away, so I do expect this to change a bit. I'll try to make a video tomorrow about this storm threat about the storm threat in this area, but if I'm not busy. Otherwise, maybe I'll just post a quick update on it. A post, I mean. But anyway, tomorrow afternoon, the model is showing rapid thunderstorm development along the cold front here from Kentucky southwards towards Mississippi. A couple of those look discrete, so I do expect hail to be a major threat out of those. And also here near the warm front across Indiana and southern Ohio, we have more supercell potential. A couple of these look up rather strong, so the HRRR model is indicating that there could be some rather robust supercells across Indiana and southern Ohio tomorrow afternoon, bringing a very large hail threat and also tornado threat, because this area is going to have very high values of bulk shear and helicity tomorrow. That's why there's a moderate risk of severe thunderstorms tomorrow for Ohio from the Storm Prediction Center. And I'll show you guys the parameters from that for tomorrow in just a moment here. But anyway, as we go further out tomorrow afternoon, we have these thunderstorms quickly start to merge into a more linear segment from Kentucky down towards the deep south. That'll limit the tornado threat for that area, but I do still expect very large hail there, and I do still expect a couple tornadoes possible in that area. But the main show will be mostly near the warm front and closer to the trough in Ohio and Indiana tomorrow evening. That's when we get this line of storms that starts to develop in Indiana tomorrow evening, along and just ahead of the cold front. This is what we have to keep an eye on for tomorrow, because as these storms move into Ohio, into an area that's very ripe for tornado development, I'm concerned across especially central and southern Ohio, far eastern Indiana, maybe far northern Kentucky tomorrow afternoon and evening, because this is going to be very ripe for tornado development tomorrow. I'm concerned for places like Columbus, Dayton, Cincinnati, maybe Indianapolis and Louisville. We'll see. And then places like Cleveland and Toledo, possibly they'll be a bit too far north, but the instability will be a little less. But nonetheless, the model is still showing some rather robust storms even across northern Ohio tomorrow evening. So pretty much the whole state should be up to date on this storm tomorrow. But as we go into the nighttime hours, the instability starts to dramatically weaken. So these storms start to weaken rather quickly. Could still see some hail out of these across eastern Ohio, and as they maybe get as far west as as far east as portions of western Pennsylvania and West Virginia, but we'll see, because the instability rapidly falls apart by around midnight tomorrow night. That's why you could see the thunderstorms rapidly weaken by that time. Now, let's look at some of the parameters here. First, we'll start again with the CAPE values, or like I said, the amount of energy we have out there for thunderstorms. Starting off from this afternoon, so we have high values of 1,000 to 2,000 joules per kilogram across portions of Illinois, Missouri, southern Indiana, and then right to the south of that warm front, or to the south of that stationary front tonight. That's where we have the highest value still. That's why I'm expecting the severe thunderstorm threat still into the overnight hours tonight across portions of southern Illinois and southern Indiana. So make sure you have a way to get your warnings, because this will be a time when most people will be asleep. And then as we go into tomorrow morning, not a whole lot of CAPE out there where those storms will be across southern Ohio. But as we go into the afternoon hours, we get a rapid blow up of the CAPE values once again, with the daytime heating across Indiana, where it's showing once again the CAPE values over 2,000. And as that moves into Ohio, but then once we get to around sunset tomorrow night, notice how quickly these values decrease. So that's why I think the thunderstorms will quickly start to weaken by sunset tomorrow evening on April 2nd across portions of Ohio. That's why the biggest threat will be for western Ohio, central western Ohio into eastern Indiana. With it could still continue but it'll be on a weakening trend as they move into eastern portions of Ohio. Also, backing up a bit, we still have up to 1,000 joules per kilogram for portions of the South. That includes Kentucky, Tennessee, portions of Mississippi, maybe Alabama, as that cold front moves east tomorrow. Now, let's go to the lowest levels of the bulk shear in the 0 to 1 kilometer above ground level range. Starting off overnight tonight, once again, here we have the high values here across southern Illinois, Indiana, and especially into eastern Missouri. That's why I expect there could still be a tornado threat tonight. If any of those cells could become discrete, they'll have a tornado potential with them. And then as we go, continuing into the overnight hours, we have very high values across far southern Illinois, Indiana, northern Kentucky. That's why I'm concerned about tornado potential overnight tonight. That's basically when you don't want to see tornadoes at all at night, when people are sleeping. And then tomorrow morning, we still have elevated values here across southern Ohio and West Virginia, but instability will be very weak at this time. So there'll be some tornado threat. Maybe an isolated tornado still possible tomorrow morning, southern Ohio. It's not out of the question, but I'm not expecting anything widespread with those storms tomorrow morning there. The main show begins tomorrow afternoon. Notice how we get a rapid blow up of values here of bulks here in the lowest kilometer here across Ohio. Those values in yellow there, you see, those are over 55 knots. That's very strong. That's going to contribute to the tornado potential tomorrow for Ohio. Look at how We have very high values tomorrow afternoon and evening across Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia, and still decent values across the south. That's why I still think there could be a tornado potential in the south, but not as good as the environment is over portions of Ohio and Indiana tomorrow. Then looking at the 0 to 6 kilometer bulk shear values, tonight and tomorrow, overnight tonight, once again, we have the high values across Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana, southern Indiana. And then going into tomorrow afternoon, the highest value, the whole area has high bulk shear, but we have very extremely high values of bulk shear across northern Ohio. But the instability will be a little bit less there, so that'll be one inhibition to the greater tornado potential for northern Ohio. And then putting all that together, once again, let's look at the supercell, the significant tornado parameter. Starting off this evening and overnight tonight, we have some elevated and high values here across northern Arkansas, southern Missouri. This shows you where the best tornado potential would be if any storms can develop in that area or move through that area. And then overnight tonight, these areas in yellow here, values of 2 to 3, maybe over 3 possible on a scale of 10. Right around the border region of Missouri, Illinois, and Kentucky there. And then as we go into tomorrow morning, still have some values here over 1 across portions of western Kentucky. But look what happens tomorrow afternoon. We have a rapid blow up of these values across southern Indiana and adjacent Kentucky. Values reaching as high as 4 on a scale of 10. Therefore, southern Indiana. Let's actually go to one of these model soundings here. Tomorrow afternoon. This is southern Indiana tomorrow afternoon. We have not a whole lot of curvature in the photograph. That's why the tornado threat will be a little bit lower over southern Indiana, even though it does say PDS tornado. I know guys are probably seeing that there. We have very high values of helicity in the 200s and 300s, but incredible amounts of bulk shear, over 75 knots of bulk shear. Mid-level lapse rates over 7 Celsius per kilometer, indicative of large hail possible in these storms. And let's go a little further out. Oh, there we go. Let's go right around here a few hours later, tomorrow evening. Let's go to western Ohio, because now we have values over 4 possible here across western Ohio tomorrow evening. Let's see what's going on there. Once again, it's showing PDS tornado right here. We have decent curvature in the photograph. The bulk shear is incredible tomorrow. 40 knots in the lowest levels, 70 knots in the 6 kilometer range. That's why we have such a tornado threat for Ohio tomorrow. The bulk shear is incredible. I can't believe it. Helicity values in the 300s and 400s, incredible amounts of helicity also. Huge amounts of updraft potential. That's why that's why we have the moderate risk out for Ohio tomorrow. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice here. We still have some decent mid-level lapse rates. The hail threat might not be as high in Ohio, but I do still expect some large hail out of these storms anytime you get a supercell. Anything else? Let's see what we got. Oh, there we go. But as we get into the sun, once the sun goes down tomorrow, notice how these values of the supercell, the tornado parameter, start to go down quite drastically across eastern Ohio. Now, let me back up a bit. I forgot about you guys from Kentucky over to the deep south. We got values in the 1 to 3 range. Not very high values from Kentucky down, or southern Kentucky down to Alabama and Mississippi, but still values in the 1 to 2 range. That does tell me that there still will be a low-end tornado threat there, a non-zero tornado threat. I still think we could get a few tornadoes there across the South and Tennessee valleys, but I'm very concerned about portions of central Ohio and eastern Indiana tomorrow. I think there could be some long-track tornadoes possible, with such a great environment for tornado potential, with the very high values of helicity and very high values of bulk shear. Let's see. I want to show you guys the helicity SWATs for tonight and tomorrow for the Ohio Valley region and Tennessee Valley. This is showing each individual storm on this simulated radar, the updraft tracks of each storm. So this is overnight tonight. Notice that we have those tracks in Oklahoma here, indicating that we could have some strong tornadoes out there. But still here along the stationary front tonight, there's still some decent tracks, helicity tracks here from Missouri over towards southern Indiana. That tells me that there could be a few tornadoes possible overnight tonight. Probably not severe tornadoes, obviously, but definitely tornado potential out there tonight. And then as we go into tomorrow afternoon, that's when we get the next wave of helicity tracks that develop. Now notice how some of these, we do have some pretty strong values out here in Indiana and Ohio region. Maybe even got one there across southern Ohio, moving into West Virginia. This shows me that the Ohio Valley region tomorrow has the potential to get a few long tracked and severe tornadoes out there tomorrow in that area. And also across the south, we do have quite a good amount of helicity tracks out there too. So that tells me that there still will be a low-end tornado threat for the Tennessee Valley and portions of the South tomorrow. Now, I think that's all I got for the severe side of this. Now, I want to talk about the wintry side of this. I was going to make this a separate video, but I'm kind of busy this week, so I don't know if I'll be able to. So I'm going to toss it at the end of this video still, because I still want to talk about it. So let's go over to the whole United States. I'm going to show you guys what's going on with this whole low pressure system that causes that what we'll get on the northern side. Let's go to the European model, and then here we go. This is looking at the precipitation and the precipitation for over the next few days. Notice how we have that rapid low pressure development here across Illinois and Indiana tomorrow morning. 996 millibar low, but watch how that deepens quickly to 983 millibars potentially as it moves into, southwestern portions of Michigan. But tomorrow evening, and also notice the heavy snow on the backside of it there in Wisconsin. Now, as we go into Wednesday, that's when it'll be at its peak. This low pressure system down to about 982 millibars here in lower Michigan. Snow on the backside of that into portions of Wisconsin and upper Michigan there. But as we get into Wednesday, its energy starts to transfer to a coastal low that develops across the Delmarva here. 988 millibar low develops Wednesday afternoon in that region there. And then all of the energy will be moved into that low pressure system. So the western low pressure system over the Ohio Valley starts to weaken. And then we get the development of the coastal low there along the northeastern coast by Wednesday night into Thursday, and that moves along the coast of the entire northeast coast there. And notice how we have that heavy snow on that northern side across northern New England and portions of southern Quebec, bringing the snowstorm potential there. And then by the time it gets into this weekend, the whole system just finally starts to fall apart. I want to quickly look at snow totals, even though it's still a few days away. So don't take these snow totals too seriously. Take them with a grain of salt because they might change a bit. But quickly going over, let's see what kind of, this is what the European model is saying in terms of snow. Since we're in April now, it's really going to matter. You have to be really high up in elevation to get snowfall accumulation. That's why places like Boston, Springfield, Massachusetts, Albany, New York, they might, even though it'll snow in that area, they might not get a whole lot of accumulation because they're very low altitude. But once you get up into portions of Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, upstate New York, we could be talking about snow totals of 6 inches, maybe even over a foot possible in some of the areas of interior Maine and New Hampshire there. So still pretty decently sized snowstorm here, pretty severe snowstorm potential, maybe even a blizzard, because when we look at the wind gusts out of this,
we could be talking about wind gusts. This will be for Thursday morning. We have wind gusts, easterly winds blowing into the Boston area. Could have gusts of 50 to 60 miles per hour. And also where the snow is falling, we have gusts of 30 to 45 miles per hour. And up in the higher elevations, up to 60 miles per hour. So there is blizzard potential with this. And then quickly, let's look at the snowfall totals for the northern Great Lakes region from the European model. Right here. So the best potential for snow will be across upper Michigan and Wisconsin. Could still see some decent snowfall accumulation there. 6 inches possible at least for places like Marquette, Green Bay, Wisconsin. Even a few inches possible for areas like Milwaukee, Madison, Wisconsin. So still a decent sized snowstorm possible for portions of Wisconsin and upper Michigan there. And then I also want to quickly look at rainfall totals because we do have those flood watches out from Illinois over towards West Virginia. This is still the European model's rainfall output. You could see showing upwards of 2 inches, over 2 inches possible here for areas in the flood watch from Illinois to Ohio and West Virginia. And obviously any area that gets thunderstorms, heavy thunderstorms, could have the potential to locally get amounts of like 4 to 6 inches of rainfall. So that's why we have the flash flood watches out. Some of these storms will produce flash flood in here for portions of the Ohio Valley, maybe the eastern portions of the Missouri Valley also. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that's all I got for today. I know it's a long video. I'll divide it up. I'll write everything into my video description because I know there's a lot to take in. We have this severe potential today for Oklahoma and Texas, and then overnight tonight in Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana, southern portions there near the Ohio River. And then tomorrow we have the big severe threat for eastern Indiana and Ohio, with still a conditional threat going along the cold front down from Kentucky to the deep south. I'll write this all in my description, so I hope everyone stays safe with this storm moving through over the next few days. Hope you guys have a good one. I'll see you next time.